Great. All right. So we have on the phone Aharon Aba from Crown Heights, soon to be a resident of Jerusalem or some city in Israel. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's actually Aharon Aba Ben Abraham. So two names. No worries. Myself, okay, so I'm a son of a pastor who has a church in Deer Park, Washington. And I grew up raised Christian from my birth. And later on in life, I actually converted when I was 36, but I spent 10 years learning. After the moment that I decided that I wanted to convert, it took me a while. It actually took me about 10 years to convert for various reasons. I'm not going to go into all that. It just takes too much time. Right now, I live in Crown Heights. I've been here for about 5 years. I teach Tanakh at a local shul. And I went to yeshiva here in Crown Heights for about a year at Hadar Torah. I would consider myself Lubavitch, realizing that there's a lot of Lubavitchers that wouldn't consider me Lubavitch. I don't speak for Lubavitch. I'm certainly no authority for in Lubavitch, but I have studied the material, and I have in depth, and I have also studied the history in depth. So I know a little bit. So
would you consider yourself a Lubavitcher Hasid?
I try to be. I love Derech Chabad. I love the Rebbe. I resonate with the teachings. I seem to understand the teachings, at least from what others tell me when I tell over what I know of them. I just like, I feel that the Rebbe was a revolutionary in our times. I feel that he was one of the first rabbis to actually care about non-Jews, where it wasn't in vogue to do so. It's become a little more of maybe a little more on the radar nowadays, but certainly at the time that the Rebbe actually went about calling for his Hasidim to go to the Gentiles, that it wasn't in vogue to do that, and it was certainly revolutionary, in my opinion.
Okay, cool.
So I appreciate that about Lubavitch, because being a convert and coming from non-Jewish background, and having relatives and people that are close to me that I love who are non-Jews, I want to see only positive for them, and so I'm trying to find teachings and people who are promoting that aspect.
Mm-hmm. So I've always said regarding Chabad that they truly love Jews, and they push the idea of Achdus more than any other group, for sure, more than any Hasidic group out there. Although, from what I've learned, that is their stance regarding Gentiles, it's typically not such a favorable one, at least not by the scholars in the movement. It seems that amongst themselves, they stick to the plain, literal understanding of the Tanya, of the first 2 chapters of the Tanya. And we're going to talk about these 2 chapters in particular, because this is really what fueled this discussion. The way I've learned them, and I've read these chapters over and over again, and they're very short, so I don't think anyone could claim that anyone hasn't read these 2 chapters. And I know there's tons of commentary on it, not including the footnotes that are found, not just the English, but the Hebrew portions of Chabad.org, which happen to have different footnotes, that in some way elaborate on what he may have been trying to say. But my approach to it, at least from what I've been able to pick up, is that literally it says that Gentiles are different than Jews inherently, because it seems like the first 2 chapters are dealing with inherent differences of neshamas. Now, by the simple fact that it's talking about a neshama, it's not speaking about something that's nurtured. It seems that it's speaking about inherent worth. This is why it says the nations versus Israel, that even their acts of hesed are chatas, are sin, Now, mind you, I've looked at many other Meforshim, and it seems that the Lubavitcher Rebbe, off the Arizal, are the only ones who actually interpret it like this. From the Ibn Ezra to the Meiri to Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, they all translate that along the same lines as the JPS and every other translation out there. That, and I think I mentioned this in our discussion before, that chatas there means korban chatas, but also with everyone else, that the word chesed there doesn't mean kindness, but it means like a toeva, an abomination. I'd like to stick to the first two chapters, the literal understanding, because I understand that the Chabad is one of the major proponents to the idea of righteous Gentiles. This I know, 100%. If it wasn't for Chabad, what the notion of the Hasidei Umot HaOlam wouldn't be so prevalent to the non-Jewish world, with the idea that they are righteous Gentiles of the nations, and the way they're deemed as righteous is but not just keeping the seven laws, but keeping the seven laws because they were given to Moshe Rabbeinu by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, if you'd like to start showing me how the first two chapters opens up to this idea of righteous Gentiles, I'm willing to listen.
Okay, so let's that was quite a bit there in one shot. So let's start from the beginning. You made a blanket statement that Chabad seems to teach this idea, and it's true. I have to agree with you. Actually, when I came to Crown Heights, and I'm speaking from personal experience now, and when I came to yeshiva, I was taught a certain way, and I heard the speech of people in the streets that talked this way also. And that the bottom line is that exactly how you said, that there's an intrinsic difference between Jews and Gentiles, and that Jews are holy and Gentiles are not. And it even went so far as saying that Gentiles are like animals. They have no free will, and they don't have a godly soul. Okay, these are all things that I've heard come out of Lubavitcher's mouths. So I can't defend these things because these things are absolutely false and they're absolutely not true. And I don't believe that the Alter Rebbe teaches this in the Tanya. And you actually brought up a very valid point, is that Lubavitch of all groups has been the one group who took what the Rambam said, mind you. This is not Lubavitch's unique idea or their chiddush in treatment towards non-Jews or their view on non-Jews. The very fact that Lubavitch is one of the only groups whose Hasidim are commanded by their Rebbe to go out to the Goyim and tell them about Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, which was an achrayus, Rambam says, since the times of Moshe Rabbeinu from Har Sinai. Meaning, once the Jews received the Torah, they then had an obligation to the rest of the world to spread that through the Sheva Mitzvot. And I don't take the Sheva Mitzvot to be, and this is where I'm in agreement with your Shita on the idea, is that it's not a religion separate from Judaism that's supposed to be set apart on its own, that we should give the Gentiles like we're throwing them a bone and expect them to be satisfied with that and happy with that. I think the opposite is what's going to happen, is that once you give them a taste and they see that God is good and they see the wisdom of the Torah, as it says in the Torah itself, that the nations will see the wisdom of the Torah and say, what a great nation is this. That once that happens, then they're going to want more, and they're not going to be satisfied with that bit. I think the Sheva Mitzvot are just the taste, like there's I don't know if it's a halacha, but there's an inyan to taste the meal of Shabbat before Shabbat. And so the Sheva Mitzvot are just the taste of the Torah before the Torah, in a sense, right? Because that's
not written anywhere.
Well, it is written in the fact that Rambam brings down, and I realize it's a midrash, but it seems to be his opinion that the Sheva Mitzvot preceded the giving of the Torah at Har Sinai. So therefore, it would have been a foretaste of the Torah before it was actually given and ratified.
In Hilchos Malachim, regarding his statement of spreading the 7 laws, he doesn't teach that it should be spread the way Chabad is spreading it nowadays. He says that we should coerce the nations on threat of death to accept the 7 laws. And if they refuse to accept the 7 laws, then they have to be killed. Now, why is that language even there? It's because Hilchos Malachim is really a sefer dealing with Yamot HaMashiach. And this is actually the opinion of the Brisker Rav.
Actually, that's not true.
Wait, hold on.
Back up. Let's unpack this.
All right, go ahead.
Otherwise, you're going to get too far down the line, and I'm not going to be able to remember everything that you're saying.
Fine.
Okay. First of all, Hilchos Malachim does not deal with the Messianic era exclusively. The name of the portion of it itself tells you what it's dealing with. It's dealing with all the halachot that have to do with kings. Okay? And there is the Messianic era mentioned in that part, in that portion, but not all the halachas are dealing with the Messianic era.
Excluding the halachas. Well, obviously, these halachas only apply during the Messianic era, but I'm saying the figurative parts that are being used. Wait. Hold on. With the figurative parts being used of anyone accepting the 7 Noahide laws, so you know that in Asher Aba he says that only when the Yovel is kept again, i.e. the Messianic age, does this apply, and today their only option is to convert to Judaism.
No, he doesn't say that. He says, hold on. No. You're not quoting the Rambam correctly.
I mean, I'm translating it as I go.
The Yovel is only dealing with a Ger Toshav. A Ger Toshav is different than a Chasidei Umas Oilam. Okay? A Ger Toshav takes, and Rambam explains exactly what a Ger Toshav is. He says a Ger Toshav takes a shvua before a Beis Din and swears off idol worship. Okay? So there's a difference, there's a legal difference between a Ger Toshav and a Ben Noach, a Stam Goy.
Not according to the Rambam. They all have the status
according to the Rambam.
of a Ger Toshav. No, hold on one second. They all have the status of a Ger Toshav. In Hilchos Malachim, he brings up the idea that he reiterates in Hilchos Tshuva that if a Ger Toshav keeps his Sheva Mitzvahs because they were given to Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai, then he becomes one of the Chasidei Umas Olam. Only then, but he's still a Ger Toshav.
The language is the Chasidei Umas Olam. I guess we need to pull up the text to get it exactly, because I don't think
he becomes one of them, and then he makes the exception.
Hold on. He becomes a Chasidei Umas Olam when he keeps the Sheva Mitzvot, because he understands that they come from Moshe Bahar Sinai, and that Moshe commanded the non-Jews to keep them. That he has an obligation to keep them because Moses commanded non-Jews to keep them. Okay? So that shows also that
only deals with living in the land of Israel. Only deals with living in the land of Israel. It makes one statement regarding a Gentile who keeps these 7 laws out of wisdom, i.e. someone living outside the land, and then it calls them almost like a fool of the nations. And there's with different girsas on this. In the Yemenite girsa, it says something else, and the Franco edition also says something else. That's the only instance that it leaves the land of Israel. Hilchos Malachim is painting a picture of Gentiles who are living in the land of Israel. What's their chelik in Olam Haba? If they keep it because it was given to Moshe Rabbeinu, then they're considered one of the pious of the nations, and they have a share in the world to come. Correct. That's the sugya. That's it.
But that has nothing to do with Ger Toshav.
If it's talking about Gentiles in the land, it means Ger Toshav.
No, it doesn't.
Well, can a Gentile exist in the land without taking this? Oh, can you give me an example?
Let's say a Gentile merchant wants to come through Eretz Yisrael. Let's say he's going from Turkey to Egypt, and he wants to travel through. Okay, he has to keep the Sheva Mitzvot while he travels through the land, but he doesn't have to become a Ger Toshav. He doesn't have to become a stranger who dwells among them.
Well, the Rambam never makes this distinction, by the way. Okay,
No,
I mean,
language.
I'd love to hear
that's why I
it.
said let's deal with the text. What chapter is it? I'm going to pull it up on the.
It's in Hilchos Malachim, I figured chapter 8.
The way I understand it is like this. When he talks about Hasidei Umas Ha'olam, he mentions keeping the Torah as it was given from Moshe, and he separates. He says it's possible that people could do this. They could keep these Sheva Mitzvot out of pure logic, and because they understand that it's actually beneficial for them, so it could be a completely selfish motive for keeping these Sheva Mitzvot. Okay? Mm-hmm. And he explains the difference, and that's why he separates the two, and he says that only the person who does it out of altruistic motives, because he's a chassid, he's chesed, he's kind, he's kind-hearted, right? Then he is the one who can have a share in the world to come. Okay? Mm-hmm.
And then he ties in that they're liable to the death penalty for breaking any of the Sheva Mitzvahs. Now, this is clearly the same idea of a Ger Toshav. This isn't just a merchant traveling through Israel.
No, it's not true, because the Rambam brings down a separate area where he talks about in Masechta Makos. It talks about that a Ger Toshav, and it says this statement. Sometimes a Ger Toshav has a din like a Jew, and sometimes he has a din like a Ben Noach. Okay?
Not according to the Rambam. I mean, according to the Gemara straight now. I mean, just for clarification.
Okay, so according to the Rambam, I think this might also be true. We could check the halachas, but if a Ger Toshav kills a Ben Noach, he is not responsible. Like if he does it by accident, right? He didn't mean to kill him; he accidentally killed him. Okay, he doesn't have to run to Ir Michlat. Now, if he kills a Ger Toshav, another Ger Toshav, he can run to Ir Michlat. Okay, and if he kills,
the Rambam doesn't say this, by the way. I mean, the Rambam says that even if they kill manslaughter, where they're liable for the death penalty, they kill someone not wanting to.
No.
This is why.
Even a Ger Toshav, if he accidentally kills a Jew, he's chayav misa immediately, and he has no route to run to Ir Michlat. Okay, so there is a similarity there. But when it comes to being able to go to Ir Michlat, he can in certain situations. So
I think we're getting off the topic now. My point was that a Ger Toshav is only considered one of the Chasidei Umat Ha'olam if he keeps it because of this reason. Now, it makes sense to me that there may be some distinction between a merchant traveling through. However, the Rambam doesn't make that distinction.
They have to separate. Rambam says that a Ger Toshav sits before a Beis Din. A Chasidei Umas Ha'olam, he does not say sits before a Beis Din. It's plain and simple.
No. The Chasidei Umat Ha'olam is not a title. In other words, it's not a status. It's a metaphysical idea of what a Ger Toshav has to do, in the Rambam's opinion, to get to heaven. This is all metaphysical. It's not binding. It's just opinion. It's not an actual status. The status is Ger Toshav.
I know, but where are you making up the idea? You are isolating something, and you're isolating the Ger Toshav, okay? But you have to take the language. The language, when it talks about Chelek Olam Haba, is talking about Chasidei Umas Ha'olam. It has nothing to do with being in the land of Israel. It has to do with keeping the Sheva Mitzvot. Plain and simple, Peshuta. There's no other obligation to earn Olam Haba, whether you're in Israel or any other country. As long
I'm not
as
arguing that. Hold on one second. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that the context in Hilchos Malachim is about the Ger Toshav. I told you that he brings up the idea of Gentiles keeping the 7 laws outside of Eretz Yisrael. And this clearly would also apply to them, right? But if they're in the land, keeping these really 8 laws, right? Because the extra law is believing it because it was given to Moshe Rabbeinu. He's still a Ger Toshav, and at the same time, what we consider Noahide nowadays. Because I guess Noahide is Ger Toshav who actually gets a piece of heaven. That's a distinction made. However, the Rambam does not make any distinction in the Mishnah Torah of Gentiles traveling through the land of Israel that don't have the status of Ger Toshav, even though they may not legally reside as Gentiles in the land.
I'm looking at the halachas now. I'm trying to find
But big picture, I don't think...
The thing is, it's not... he mentions Gentiles. He mentions.
I just remembered that where we left off, because I said that there is no obligation nowadays to offer it as some sort of alternative to Judaism, but only like the Rambam states, that Israel, when they're in power, i.e. what's called today the Messianic Age, they coerce Gentiles to keep this on threat of death. And then he says that nowadays, because the Yovel is not being kept, everyone, I think, could come to the realization that when the Jubilee is kept, we are in the Messianic Age, that only then can we accept the notion of a Ger Toshav, and today their only option is to become full Jews. This is with the Lashon in Serbia.
We need to unpack this. You're right. Okay, look. I agree with you that there is no legal status of a Ger Toshav today. Okay, so we're in agreement on that. I'm not going to argue that point. Now, what I will argue is that what you cannot tell me is that the obligation on non-Jews' part today is not to keep the Sheva Mitzvot. They still have an obligation whether they have a legal status of Ger Toshav or not.
So whenever we use the word obligation is always tied to the Beis Din Gadol, to the Sanhedrin. That's what obligation means in halachic terms. We're not talking about Chayav Misa B'dei Shemayim, right, that God in some way is going to shorten their lives because they don't keep the Sheva Mitzvahs.
I don't want to deal with that. Let's deal with the court. Let's just deal with the earthly court. I'm not going to say what heavenly court said or whatever, okay? Let's just deal with the earthly court.
Okay, so the way I interpret the 7 laws of Noah, and I consider them probably more than 7 laws, because the way I view them is that it's the bare minimum that man should keep to separate himself from the animal, is a bare standard of morality. Now,
okay,
do I believe
have that obligation today?
I'm getting there. So I believe that all humans who don't know that the Torah is true, who don't know about the Torah, i.e. what the Sugya is identifying as Gentiles, people who don't know that the Torah is true, I believe God wants them to keep and judges them against a bare standard of morality. So yes, I believe a Hindu in India who knows nothing about Torah, God is going to judge him against his bare standards for decency. Chazal translated that into 7 laws. I believe it's probably a little more, for sure more. But this is why I teach, that being Jewish is not for everybody. My argument is that if you're coming from Christianity, or you're coming from Islam, or from some other offshoot of Judaism, Torah is your only alternative to those religions, because they're so ethically advanced. As far as they're behind in other areas, ethically, they're head and shoulders above just living by 7 laws.
Right. So, okay, we agree. On all that you said, I agree 100%. And so we agree that the obligation is still on the Goyim today, whether they're in Eretz Yisrael, whether we have the Sanhedrin or not, they have an obligation to keep the bare minimum, which the Chazal has said are these 7 laws that are universal for all of mankind. Okay?
Sure.
You just stated exactly that. Correct? We agree.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's move forward to the Tanya, because I know you wanted to deal with that, and I also want to deal with that. Now, I want to take it in context, okay? You started with the end of chapter 1 with the quote from Proverbs, okay, which is fine and good. And I listened to that share, and I recommend all the listeners should also listen to that share that you posted, because he brings up arguments, but I think all the arguments can be dealt with, okay? Now, in the beginning of chapter 1 of the Tanya, it says very simply, and I'm going to quote, "We have learned an oath is administered to him, be righteous and be not wicked, even if the whole world judging you by your actions tells you that you are righteous, regard yourself as wicked." Okay? Now, and he mentions, in the text itself, it says, Tanya Besof Per Gimel Denida. Okay, so he's quoting here. He starts out, the entire Tanya is a quote, the beginning of the entire Tanya is a quote from the Gemara. Okay, and this Gemara is in Nida 30b. And over there, if you go look over there, you will see a discourse by Rav Simloi. And Rav Simloi says, what is a fetus likened to in the womb? And he says it is likened to two tablets folded together, right? And then he goes on to explain how there's a light that hovers above the fetus, and that it's taught the entire Torah. And he in the whole discourse, I recommend everybody go read it. It's a long discourse. And in the whole discourse, he's constantly quoting Pesukim from the Tanakh to back up what he's saying. And at the end of the whole thing, he basically says that every fetus in the womb, whether it's Jew or Gentile, is taught the entire Torah, because the quote that he quotes it from is actually from Eov, and we know from many different sources that Eov was not a Jew. Okay, so then he goes on to what was I talking about? Oh, okay. So then he goes on also to say, he quotes a pasuk from Isaiah that says that every knee shall bow and every soul shall give an account. And he explains that at the end of the day, every soul's mission when it comes into this world is to bow to its creator, is to be subservient to its creator. And the ultimate goal, of course, is the Torah. Okay. So this discourse, he starts at the end where at the end of the discourse, before the fetus is born, it's talking about it learns the Torah, and then it's also says that it's administered an oath, right? And this oath is to be righteous and be not wicked. And this, in a nutshell, is basically what the entire Tanya is about. Be righteous and don't be wicked. Okay?
Okay.
And now
I understand everything you said. However, ideas that Job is a Gentile, and this in some way opens the realm to say the righteousness here also applies to Gentiles, is your interpretation. This uses verses and midrashim independently on who these individuals were historically. It's trying to lay down a point. Mind you, the Balatanya didn't make that distinction. Because Eov, at least historically, and he's not even a historical figure, but in rabbinic literature, is understood as being as much in the covenant as Abraham was. Even though people argue, like, if that story was even real, I mean, the Rambam writes that the whole thing is a parable. I still don't see...
Point granted. There are many different opinions on who Job is. He could have been a Jew. There is opinions. There's 12 different opinions in the Gemara of who Job was. Okay?
Yeah, but so far, it's all medrash. The idea that one is taught the whole Torah in the womb is something that any rabbi will tell you is not to be taken literally. And you're trying to say that this also applies to Gentiles.
Slow down. Okay, first of all, we're dealing in the realm of midrash. Okay, we're dealing in the realm of analogies and mashalim. Okay, so yes, I agree with you, but let's stay in the realm of midrash. Let's not go to we need to rationalize all this stuff. Okay, the midrashim were meant to be extrapolated and meant to be taught upon, not meant to be monolithic and just taken literally. So I agree with you in that respect. Okay,
yeah, but it seems that the Balatanya is taking it literally by saying that it seems that the Balatanya is taking it literally because he's teaching it in a practical, for it to be a practical understanding that anything that the nations do, they do it for selfish motives. Like in that statement in Mishlei.
Wait. Again, I want context. You're jumping to the end of chapter 1, okay? And that's why I started at the beginning of chapter 1. Because I wanted to point out one simple thing, and that is that if you go to what he tells you the reference is, okay, and the Alter Rebbe is not just telling you the reference for his health, he's telling you the reference because he's expecting you to be a student and for you to go learn what he referenced, okay? So when you go over there and you look at the whole discourse of Rav Simloi, and everybody can go look at it and you can see for yourself, okay? I just brought up one proof that Rav Simloi is talking about non-Jews and Jews. He's talking about all of mankind. He's not making a distinction between Jews and non-Jews. Rav Simloy is talking about a fetus, the klal. Not a Jewish fetus, not a non-Jewish fetus. A fetus in the womb.
But this is not what this chapter is built on. That's the thing. You have to understand the end, his conclusion of the first chapter, to see why he's bringing up these sources. He's saying that this is only a Jewish child, someone in some line, going all the way back to Avraham Avinu.
No, it's not true, and I'm going to show you.
Talking about neshamas. He doesn't speak about transitional statuses of neshamas. In other words, if this is applying to Gentiles, then it's applying to all Gentiles as much as it says that it's applying to all of Israel.
Okay, but he hasn't said anything about, he hasn't mentioned Israel yet, and he hasn't mentioned Gentiles yet. We're just dealing with be righteous and be not wicked. Okay? And a matter of fact, the only thing that's mentioned, matter of fact, even the only people he says is the whole world. He says, even if the whole world, which would include Gentiles, right? I think you would agree. Judging you by your actions tells you you are righteous, regard yourself as wicked. Okay? So then he says, wait a minute, this calls for an explanation. For we learned in Pirkei Avos, the Mishnah, be not wicked in your own estimation.
Hold on, I'm looking at the text right now. And then it says, and it's funny, because here in the Hebrew, it doesn't say Jew, it was Sadiq, but for some reason, the Lubavitcher translator said, for a Jew. I'm sorry.
Okay, yes, you're right. No, Asher, you found something. And you're 100%.
I'm saying in the first.
I wanted to get to that. I want to get to that. But that I'll address with you on chapter 2. Okay, but let's go. I want to do it in context. Everything needs to be in context. Otherwise, we're just doing eisegesis and we're not doing exegesis. Okay? Let's do exegesis here. Alright? So, the point is, and I'm not going to go through the whole first chapter. We can jump to the end. I can tell you in a kitzer, okay? He starts out with the idea of righteous and wicked, okay? And then he goes on to explain that in the Gemara, there are 5 categories of righteous and wicked, okay? There's a righteous man who prospers. He's called a tzaddik gomer. A righteous man that suffers, he's called a tzaddik velo gomer or something like that. I can't remember. You can look at the language over there. Then there's a wicked.
This is that point. So let's stick on the first chapter. According to the first chapter, he's laying a premise here. I notice he's laying a premise. The problem is, when he begins to tie this to neshamas, and then he says that this neshama comes from the klipa noga, and he speaks about these certain statuses also having something good within them, while the Gentile has nothing good, that is what we're trying to see.
Yes, let's unpack it. I agree with you, okay? No problem. Okay. I agree with you. Slowly, let's unpack it. All right? First of all, when we're talking about neshamas, souls, okay, we don't really know what the heck we're talking about. Let's be honest, okay? We're talking about something that is not tangible, it's not physical, it's ephemeral. There's a big push in science to deny its existence. Most philosophers agree that it exists, and most psychologists...
you're getting off topic. I mean, what did the Tanya believe? No. I mean, he believed it wasn't a real thing.
I'm going to tell you. Hold on, okay? You have to understand, according to Kabbalah, there are 5 parts to the soul, okay? There's a nefesh, and these are all names that are brought down in the Torah and the Tanakh. There's a nefesh, there's a ruach, there's a neshama, there's a chaya, and a yechida. Actually,
the Torah doesn't classify souls that way.
Hold on. The 3 are brought down in the Torah itself. Ruach, nefesh, and neshama. Chaya and yechida, I think, might be brought somewhere else. I don't know if they're brought down in the Torah. But for sure, those 3 names of the spirit, soul, whatever you want to call it, there are 3 names to the soul that are given in the Torah itself. Okay? So, in Kabbalah, we understand it like this. The nefesh deals with the basest element. It's in the blood, as the Torah says. The nefesh is in the blood. It deals with the animalistic, and this is also brought down in the first chapter of the Tanya. It deals
Let's just read through the first chapter of the Tanya. If you want, I can read through it out loud.
It's too long. I'm not sure I can tell you Kitzer outside.
It's very short.
Yeah,
it seems short to me.
It's not necessary.
I mean, so far, I don't see that you've really made a case for anything. The whole notion that Eov did not accept the Torah, I mean, the whole book, in my opinion, written by Jews who did accept the Torah, trying to give over a mushal to Jews who spoke their language. Now,
you're jumping back to Eov. Hold on. Let's stay in the text. Let's stay with what we're dealing with here. Let's stay with the two souls, okay? Because that's what the Alter Rebbe is ending the first chapter with. And that's what I'm trying to get to you. You want to go back and read the whole thing, it's not necessary. I know it pretty much ball pay, I can tell you Bekitzer. Okay? What I'm trying to tell you is that he's making a case that you have two souls, and those two souls are fighting, okay? And you see this in every religion, okay? You see it in the yin-yang symbol, okay? You see it in the dark and the light, this conflict. Christianity, it's called the flesh against the spirit, okay? In Judaism, it's called the Yetzer Hara against the Yetzer Tov, okay? Another name for the Yetzer Hara is the
just read through the Tanya, man. I mean, it's fine. Okay? Just read through it. I mean, if the Peshat cannot clear up this issue, then there's no issue that you have to argue about.
First of all, you're not dealing in Peshat, okay? I know what you're trying to do, okay? It's not going to work. You're going to try
I'm trying to simplify the whole thing.
You're going to
just trying to read through the Tanya.
What you're going to try and do is you're going to try and literalize everything when it's not meant to be.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do. That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
That's a huge mistake, and that's what the whole Moria on Nebuchim was written for people like you who try and literalize everything. You have to realize.
You compare more Nebuchim to Tanya. Okay, I mean, it doesn't even touch on the same idea. Now, you're basically saying because you can't literalize it, you're saying because you can't literalize it, everyone who reads it will get a different interpretation.
That's fine. Listen, there's
that's wrong. Because the vast majority
of the Torah. You're going to have 70 different interpretations for the Torah.
That's also a medrash. This is very dangerous.
It doesn't matter, because then everybody has a subjective understanding.
All right. So then some bigot could say whether they have what to argue against or for, and say, like, you know what, if I want to mistreat a convert, I could, because this is the way I read the Tanya. So let's just read the literal words, the literal statements, and see from a Pachat level what conclusion we come to. Now, if you know that by reading the literal statement,
I'm not scared, Asher, but you're wasting our time. We're already 42 minutes into it. And to sit here and read it verse by word for word is just a waste of time when I can tell you exactly what it's going to say on the outside. Okay? He talks about a Benoni. You don't want to get into this stuff. I'm telling you. It's going to bore you and you're going to get bogged down in details.
Okay.
So, I'm trying to, but
let me ask you some questions then.
You don't like what I'm saying. Sure, ask me
Hold on. Okay. And I think by asking you questions, you'll see my perspective on it, and then if you see anything erroneous within that perspective, you can fix it. Okay?
Okay, sure.
It seems to me, because it's dealing with souls, it's dealing with inherent intrinsic value. This is why it had to mention the idea of a baby in its mother's womb and it going through things before it was even born. Okay, fine. The statement where it says that the nations, that all the kindness they do, now this is the Rebbe's interpretation, the Alter Rebbe's interpretation, that all the kindness they do is just sin or for selfish motives. How does that tie into Gentiles possibly still having some good in them?
Okay, so the question, if I understand it correctly in a nutshell, is if the Gentiles, if it's taught that the Gentiles have no good in them, then how could you read the text to possibly say that Gentiles have good in them, correct? Okay.
I didn't even make that statement because I was holding it in my pocket for later on, where in the same chapter, the Baal Tanya says that the Gentiles have no good in them whatsoever. But go ahead.
Okay, so what you're talking about is at the end of chapter 1. And let's see what he says. Let's quote that so we can get verbatim. Okay, so should I deal with the neshama issue first, or what do you want me to deal with?
the interpretation of Mishlei, of that pasuk in Mishlei.
Okay, so verbatim he says like this. After he says, the klipa is from the esoteric tree of knowledge, which is comprised of good and evil, and the souls of the nations of the world, however, emanate from the other unclean klipot, which contain no good whatsoever. As it is written in Eitz Chaim, Portal 49, Chapter 3, which is a quote from the Zohar, or actually that's Ari Chaim Vital, that all the good that the nations do is done out of selfish motives. So the Gemara comments on the verse, the kindness of the nations is sin, that all the charity and kindness done by the nations of the world is only for their self-glorification. Okay? And so, the shir that you posted, okay, if you listen back on that shir, maybe it's been a while since you did, I don't know, but he quotes sources of Meforshim on this pasuk, and it's and the Rebbe's opinion is not his own. It was taken from other opinions, okay? So it's not a monolithic opinion that the word chatas means a sin offering, even
Hold on.
if Whoa, let me finish.
Sure.
Even if you want to take that interpretation that it means a sin offering, the only reason you need a sin offering is because of that you sinned. Okay? You do not give a sin offering if you did not sin. Period. So even if you want to use that interpretation, you can sit there and play with it all you want, and I have no problem with that because it's open for interpretation. It's Sefer Mishlei, which means mushal. It's analogous, obviously. And so, again, and it's a general statement, but there are always exceptions to the general rule. So we've seen this, that there are righteous Gentiles, and that's how it comes down. So when you go over there and you look up, when the Gemara is talking about this pasuk from Shlomo Melech in Proverbs, you will see exactly what the Alter Rebbe is saying here. This is not a novelty of the Alter Rebbe. He didn't make this up. This is from the Gemara. So if you have a problem with it, take it up with the Gemara.
Wait. Okay. I mean, this is an interesting response because you're basically saying, yes, it's true. The Rebbe's statement is bigoted, but he's just repeating what someone else said. And I did listen to...
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, fine.
And you're basically saying that the statement in the Gemara is bigoted, but you're blaming it on the Alter Rebbe.
No. In the Gemara
because
itself...
the Alter Rebbe didn't create that statement. It's a quote from Mishlei, and it's brought down in the Gemara. And it's discussed by Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and his opinion is that he takes his student's opinion over his opinion, and his student's opinion makes the Jews look good and the Goyim look bad. So go over there and look in the Gemara. No problem.
Hold on.
It's in the shir that you posted.
Hold on. In the shir, that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's opinion on it was completely different than his students, and then his student made statements, and then he said, because this makes the Jews look good, I like your interpretation better.
Correct.
But his initial pashat, the teacher's interpretation to what that meant was completely different what the Baal Tanya is quoting.
No problem, but he took his students over his own interpretation, and he liked his students better than his own.
He said why he liked it. He said because it made the Jews look good, not because it was an accurate interpretation. That's a distinction. Now,
even more so. So was Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai a bigot at that point because he wanted to make the Jews look better than the Goyim?
Absolutely.
Okay,
and this is why that we're allowed to differ with Chazal.
I agree.
We have an example where one Tana holds to one interpretation, hears another interpretation, and says, you know what? Because this makes Jews look a little better, I like your interpretation better. But he's not saying that it's the Pashat understanding, which is why I started off this conversation by saying that the Ibn Ezra, the Meiri, Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, all interpreted it differently than this metric that you're quoting.
No, that your shir said the Meiri. I like the Meiri's take on it because the Meiri is basically any negative mentioned in the. He brings this down in his Magnus Opus Base of Bechira. That basically any negative mentioned about Goyim in the Gemara is talking about idol worshiping Goyim, and it's not talking about good Gentiles.
I didn't say that they have the same interpretation. One interpretation is that the word hesed means like a toeva, like an abomination. Another interpretation, which is the one held by the Ibn Ezra, is that the hatas there is a korban hatas. It's, in other words, they knew that this did not mean what you're saying or what the Balatanya said it meant because Mishlei is not speaking about definitive things.
That guy quoted, listen to the shir, you'll hear. There's sources for that opinion. It's not this is not a Das Yachid, Asher. The Alter Rebbe is not a Das Yachid on this.
No.
He got this opinion from somewhere else.
Right, and that doesn't make it any less bad or good in any way. Now, what he did in the shir was that he started quoting contemporaries of the Balatanya who held differently. That's the part that you're talking about. When he was talking about Meforshim, he was talking about Rishonim.
I heard that.
Not Achronim. Okay, all right.
I heard that, but he also mentioned the opposite. He said there are some that hold like this, and there's some that hold like the Alter Rebbe. You want to flip it all around and blame it on the Alter Rebbe, that the Alter Rebbe is being bigoted against Goyim, and that he created this idea by himself when you just admitted he's not a Das Yachid on it. This opinion came from somewhere else, and he didn't invent this opinion. Okay?
How does that make it any better? If anything, I think you're making my case. I always blamed it on Kabbalistic Judaism or even bigoted statements that appear in the Gemara. Okay,
that's retarded. Yeah, okay, in the Gemara, if you want to say bigoted statements in the Gemara, fine, I have no problem with that. But the fact of the matter is that halacha was poskened with bigotry, and I'll tell you why, okay? In Masechta Avodah Zarah, Goyim are poskened to be like animals. Why? Because that Goyim were raping so many Jewish women, and this is why we also go by another reason why we go by the female, because you can actually see the child being born. But they were raping so many Jewish women that they were raping Bas Kahanim, and once they're raped, then they can't be with a Kohen anymore. So what they did is they made the law to say that Goyim are like animals. If they're going to rape our women, they're going to be animals, and therefore the relations that they have with them is not real relations because it's like relations with an animal, which is different. So
what are you trying to say? You're making a distinction between rabbinic law and Torah law. Hold on 1 second. Are you not making a distinction between rabbinic law and Torah law? In other words, according to rabbinic law, the court can decide wherever source they want to use to develop a halacha. But of course, that law could be changed by a later court. And in many cases, these laws were changed. Now, we can't change any laws nowadays because we don't have a Sanhedrin. That's different than saying that according to Torah, which the Chabad teaches, there is an inherent difference between a Jewish soul and a Gentile soul. If you want to say this is only a midrashic idea, fine. But what you're basically saying now is that all the rabbis are racist and just deal with it. That's what you're saying.
No, that's what you said. You said it was bigoted, so I said if you want to say that, then here's a better case for you. Okay?
Of course it's bigoted. So there's different rabbis who disagree.
I'll give you a case from the Torah itself. Let's go with this, okay? Is the Torah bigoted when it says that members from the nation of Moab or the nation of Ammon or the nation of Edom or the nation of Mitzrayim cannot marry Jewish women? Even if they convert, their children will not be able to marry Jewish women until the 3rd generation after conversion, or the 10th in this instance of the Moab and Ammon. So is the Torah bigoted in that it won't even let these people marry in? But any other convert, why is it that any other convert from any other nation in the world except for these 4 nations can marry into the Jewish people? But these
I think that you've answered your own question here by the simple fact that it limited to members of the 7 Canaanite nations shows that We're dealing with collective responsibility here. They're trying to dismantle their culture, but the simple fact that you said that any other Gentile,
if it's collective, then why the women and not the men? If it's collective,
that in itself is a rabbinic interpretation.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Deoraita. It's Deoraita.
The Torah does not limit that it's only for the women and not for the men. That's Chazal.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
How
the Torah says.
All right. Show me. You show me where it says it's only for the women.
The reference. The reference is. No, they got it from the fact that the women didn't come. They didn't. The women.
It doesn't say it in the Torah. It doesn't say. Chazal mentioned how could Ruth be accepted.
Got the idea.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just saying. They mentioned how can Ruth be a convert when she's from Moab, and then they say that it only applies for the women. This is a rabbinic interpretation. Like maybe call it an asmachta, fine, but it's not from the Torah. It's still from the rabbis. But by the simple fact that you say that any other nation, a person from Japan, a person from India, could convert, but just these certain nations that had negative history with Israel, there's a limitation on them, shows that it's not bigoted. There is a reason for that hatred. And mind you, it doesn't apply today.
Why not the Greeks then, and why not the Persians? And come on, let's be real, okay?
Because we didn't fight against them when conquering the land.
You can give any excuse you want, but the fact of the matter is, it's misogynistic in the fact that you will allow.
Are you familiar with the 7 Canaanite nations?
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Okay, fine. These individuals were part of the Canaanite nations, and there's negative history with them attacking Israel, and this is why there's limitations. And even
none of those nations were part of the Canaanite nations, and all the Canaanite nations were allowed to convert. As a matter of fact, if you took a Canaanite slave and you freed him, he automatically became Jewish.
Those nations were part of the Canaanite nations.
No, they weren't.
And it doesn't mention 7 in that limitation.
The Girgashi, the Amori, there are 7 nations, and they are not Egypt, they are not Rome, they are not Moab, and they are not Ammon. Moab and Ammon were conquered by Moshe outside of Eretz Yisrael. Those were the lands that Manasseh, Gad, and Reuben settled out on the other side of the Jordan.
This is all dealing with people who are residing in the current land of Israel, or biblical.
No, they weren't. Edom is not Eretz Yisrael. Mitzrayim is not Eretz Yisrael. Moab was not, and Ammon is not. Matter of fact, Ammon is modern-day Jordan. The very name of the capital is Ammon.
So we can't debate fact. We can only debate opinion. Okay, I mean, to say that Edom is not Eretz Yisrael, why don't you look up where Mount Seir is? Moab, all these places are in the biblical borders of Israel. So you can research this afterwards. Okay, fine.
You can look at it afterwards. God told him you're not going to go. You're going to go around the Edomites, and you're not going to go through. Moshe tried to send a letter to try and go through their land, and they wouldn't let him. It was to the south of Eretz Yisrael. The Torah, that's what it says. The Tanakh, everything. The land of Edom is not Eretz Yisrael. Are you kidding me? Mitzrayim is certainly not Eretz Yisrael.
So this is why the Idumeans were forcibly converted, because their kingdom was in biblical Eretz Yisrael. In other words, if they were forced to convert because the notion of oh my gosh, man, of course they were Edomites. That's why they're called Idumeans. I mean, an Idumean is a Hellenized form of Edomite. Anyways,
whatever. All right, listen, we're getting off topic.
I don't think.
Okay, but let's go back to.
I think we have enough here. I think we have enough so far.
Now?
For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say. I think we have enough so far.
Now?
For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say. I think we have enough so far.
Now?
For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say. I think we have enough so far.
Now?
For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say. I think we have enough so far.
Now?
For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say. I think we have enough so far.
Now?
For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say. I think we have enough so far.
Now?
For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say. I think we have enough so far.
Now?
For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say. I think we have enough so far.
Now?
For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say. I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say, I think we have enough so far. For sure. Because I don't think there's anything else where we could say,